Rainbow Six Siege has breached its way into closed alpha, so it's time to talk strategy. There are 10 operators available, 5 attackers and 5 defenders, each with their own unique ability. Knowing how your skills fit into the team dynamic is going to give you an edge, so you can pull off some sweet coordinated maneuvers instead of, just dying a whole lot. Let's start with the attacking team, and the dude you'll probably pick first, Sledge. Who doesn't want to be a badass with a hammer that can just bash through stuff willy-nilly? But you never want to be the only one breaching. It's too obvious. Coordinate with a teammate or set up your own breach charge, and then swing your hammer while your enemies are looking at the explosions. And if your teammates have the enemy distracted, Sledge can make some great flanking runs and pop up where he's least expected. Twitch is the opposite of Sledge, not meant to lead the charge or flank, but rather to support a team push. She has a deployable drone that's similar to what you use in the scouting phase. Ideally, your whole team has parked their scout drones in good out-of-the-way places, allowing you to check their camera feed for intel. But if not, Twitch has your mid-match scouting covered. Her drone can also shock enemies for 15 points of damage, making it good for downing enemies that are already damaged by grenades, gas, or gunfire. It can also disarm traps if you're sharp enough to spot them, or if your enemy is dull enough to put them out in the open. Thermite's up next, and what does Thermite do? Thermites things. It's right there in the name. Thermite will blow a hole in any reinforced wall, no problem, but it sure takes its sweet-ass time. Enemies can see and hear the fuse burning, so Thermite makes a great distraction while you execute another breach or flanking move. At the very least, avoid rushing in right after your Thermite blows, unless you've chucked in some grenades or are following the recruit with the riot shield. The recruit is like the 6th man, whose unique ability is the riot shield, but the shield actually replaces his primary weapon. It's good for going through breach holes, provided you're crouching to protect your legs, and for peppering pistol shots through barricades and walls. Enemies firing back at you through the wall will probably hit the shield. Suckers. Thatcher is another attacker, and his specialty is meddling with electronics. Given that the defenders have the most annoying and possibly overpowered piece of kit in the game, the heartbeat sensor, Thatcher's EMP grenades can really help cover your advance while your team is moving into breach position. And if one of your breach charge fails to detonate, there's probably a jammer nearby just waiting to be fried by Thatcher's grenade. Don't leave any EMP grenades in your pockets. You never know when a C4 charge or gas trap is going to be waiting right around the corner. The last attacker is Ash. She rocks the breach charge launcher, which basically fires barricade-busting grenades and is super badass. She can breach with the speed of Sledge's hammer, but with the safety of projectile distance. So, use her to confuse the enemy with simultaneous breaches, support a push with a quick follow-up breach, or just mess with the defender's minds by breaching surfaces you aren't actually near and have no intention of going through. Psychological warfare is a must in Siege. Psyching out defenders can encourage them to make mistakes that you can capitalize on. So, how do you avoid making mistakes on defense? Coordinate your barricade placement with your team. Designate one player to shoot drones during the scouting phase. Consult your security cameras when the attackers are on the move. And don't just freak out when all the breaches start coming, because they're gonna come. You can help delay the breaching and throttle the scouting by using Mute, the defender with the jammer. Place these juiced-up wireless routers behind walls to block remote breaches. And run to a choke point during the scouting phase to block the drone parade. The range is pretty short on these guys though, so place them carefully. And when the action shifts from the place you're jamming to the place you're not jamming, just pick that little bad boy up and take it with you. If Mute blocks gadgets, Smoke blocks people. With remote detonated gas bombs, Smoke can turn a hallway into a death trap, or at least do some sweet area denial. Setting these traps near entryways can stop the enemy short, burning precious seconds off the clock and bringing your victory ever closer. Toss one to where the enemy's grouping up to scatter them, or chuck one into a recently breached hole to make them think twice about coming in. Slowing the attacker's advance is a great defensive tactic, and the strong barricades that Castle can place do just that. It takes an enemy 3 melee hits to break down a normal barricade. Castle's barriers force the enemy to burn time actually breaching. And if Mute puts a jammer behind one, then the breach charge they spent all that time unfolding was all for naught. Castle's barriers offer cover from enemy fire, as opposed to the mere concealment offered by normal barricades. Cover protects you from bullets. Concealment does not. Learn the difference. Give yourself a defensive edge by placing a deployable shield down next to the wall you want to shoot through, And if you put it near the door that's totally blocked up, Castle has got that area locked down. If, or rather when, you happen to catch a bullet or two, you'll be glad to have Rook on your team. Rook's deployable bag of armor will either fortify you from the start or patch you up mid-match. A downed player gets revived at half health, but if there's armor waiting, you'll have a full-strength fighter back in no time. If you deploy the armor bag early, then Rook is free to go off on flanking maneuvers without depriving his allies of the benefits of his unique skill. Just remember that if you go outside, have a plan to get back inside quickly, or prepare to deal with the aggression coming your way when the game automatically points you out to your enemies. And finally, the last offender is the guy who looks like a jerk and uses the jerkiest gadget around, Pulse. His heart rate monitor is awesome to use and so aggravating to plan around, so be sure to stay alive and keep it in play as long as possible. Sniffing out enemies and calling out their position is a great way to give your team an advantage, and if you find the right angles to shoot them through floors or ceilings, well, that's a great move. Just be sure you know the map well enough not to expose yourself while you've got your eyes glued to the screen. Play to the strengths of each character and communicate with your teammates, and you'll be on your way to saving or protecting an innocent life. Just kidding. No one saves the hostage. Share your own tips in the comments below, and happy hunting.